From the very first whisper that seeped through the tight corridors of Buckingham Palace, the world sensed that something monumental was unfolding, something so unsettling that it seemed to vibrate beneath the polished floors and echo along the ancient stone walls of the British monarchy. It began with a tremor so faint it might have been mistaken for gossip drifting between royal staff, but very quickly it became clear that this was not ordinary palace chatter. This was the beginning of a new earthquake shaking the royal family from within, an aftershock of past scandals merging with the explosive power of a present revelation that no one saw coming. For years, whispers had lingered around the former Duchess of York, but nothing had ever pierced the polished facade quite like the moment shocking new revelations came to light about Sarah Ferguson. And for once, the scandal did not come from tabloids, informants, or opportunistic biographers. Instead, the detonator was someone far closer to the throne, someone whose own life had rarely collided with chaos or controversy. It was Prince Edward himself who ignited a firestorm that would ripple across the monarchy with unprecedented force, sending the media, the public, and even the royal family into a state of disbelief. According to confidential accounts that spilled into the public sphere with staggering speed, Edward revealed explosive footage that directly implicated Fergie in a series of events long hidden in the shadows. These images, kept secret for years, allegedly captured situations so sensitive and so compromising that the palace had no choice but to take immediate action. The footage was said to be buried deep within private archives, protected, sealed and silently guarded by people who never imagined they would be forced to uncover it. Yet Edward chose to bring it into the light, shocking even those closest to him, because the content was too severe, too consequential, too profoundly disruptive to ignore. The images, according to insiders, were so explosive that the moment they reached key palace figures, emergency protocols were triggered behind closed doors. What followed was a chain reaction that rippled outward with brutal speed. Fergie's name, long associated with both affection and controversy, suddenly found itself tied to something far more serious. Reports erupted claiming she had been arrested in connection with the newly uncovered material, sending shockwaves not just through royal circles but across the entire nation. People froze in disbelief as reporters scrambled, cameras pointed toward every possible palace gate, every police headquarters, every attorney's office, looking for confirmation of the unprecedented turn of events. For decades, the royal family had weathered storms, but this one felt different. This one cut deeper, because it originated at the heart of the family itself. This was not simply a scandal about a former duchess. This was a devastating internal rupture, a moment when private accusations transformed into legal intervention, and when long-suppressed evidence was finally forced to rise. Commentators rushed to piece together the timeline, tracing it back to the era when Ferguson still occupied a prominent role within the monarchy. Many wondered why Edward, a figure known for his reserved nature and calm demeanor, would become the catalyst for such a seismic revelation. Others speculated that he had been carrying this weight for years, unable to release it until circumstances left him with no choice. Whether driven by duty, conscience or pressure remains a mystery, but what is clear is the immediate effect when the footage he presented reached decision-makers. Palace aides who witnessed the moment described expressions of shock unlike anything they had seen in their careers. Some sources said the room felt completely silent as the footage played, while others recalled hushed gasps and the palpable tension of realizing that the monarchy was about to face one of the most destabilizing internal incidents in decades. Unlike previous scandals where time, strategy and public relations allowed for careful navigation, this situation forced a rapid, almost military-like response. There was no space for hesitation. The content demanded intervention, and intervention came swiftly. Within minutes, trusted security teams were mobilized. Communications were shut down. Phones were confiscated from those present. Protocols designed for emergency breaches of royal confidentiality were activated. The footage was secured, encrypted and restricted to a handful of authorized individuals. But despite the palace's attempt to contain the crisis, fragments of information quickly leaked. The world learned that an arrest had taken place and that Fergie was at the center of the storm. Reporters jostled for position outside key locations while legal analysts attempted to dissect every angle. Questions loomed like storm clouds. What exactly was captured on those images? Why did Edward choose to reveal them now? Who else knew? And how deeply could this shake the foundations of a family already bruised by years of scandals? As public fascination intensified, the story evolved, weaving layers of speculation, emotional tension and political ramifications. Observers noted that this crisis did not emerge at a time of stability. The royal family had already been navigating delicate transitions, generational shifts in a world that no longer grants unquestioned reverence to tradition. The smallest misstep now carries enormous consequences. And so, the magnitude of this new revelation was amplified by a global environment hungry for transparency and quick to scrutinize. The palace, for its part, adopted a posture of strategic silence. No statements were released, no clarifications offered. This silence only fueled curiosity. People wondered whether the lack of comment signaled the severity of the situation or a calculated attempt to minimize damage while solutions were quietly constructed behind the scenes. Political advisors, legal teams and crisis managers reportedly worked around the clock, examining every scenario, from public fallout to internal disciplinary protocols. It became apparent that no matter what steps the palace took next, the impact would be enormous. Meanwhile, the public found itself torn between disbelief and intrigue. Many recalled past moments when Ferguson had faced intense media scrutiny, yet she had always managed to rebuild, reinvent or charm her way back into public favor. But this time felt different. This time the narrative was not driven by tabloid exaggeration but by the revelation of a royal family member, making the situation both unprecedented and deeply personal. It was not an attack from the outside but a revelation from within. And that distinction changed everything. As the story continued to unfold, long-term observers of the monarchy pointed out that internal betrayal, or even the perception of internal conflict, has historically been one of the most destabilizing forces for royal institutions. When unity fractures, trust erodes. When secrets spill, reputations are shattered. And when evidence rises to the surface after being deliberately hidden, the entire system is forced to confront previously unspoken weaknesses. This new earthquake, triggered by Edward's decision, exposed vulnerabilities that many assumed were safely buried. Inside the palace, emotions reportedly ran high. Some supported Edward's decision, arguing that transparency and accountability were necessary for the future survival of the monarchy. Others questioned his timing, his motive and the potential consequences. Still, others wondered what deeper truths might exist beneath the surface of this dramatic revelation. Was this the only piece of hidden footage, or were there more archives waiting to be uncovered? Had Fergie been the only figure implicated, or could further shockwaves lie ahead? The uncertainty only heightened the tension. As public debates expanded, international news networks picked up the story, turning it into a global sensation. Experts compared it to some of the most impactful royal crises in modern history, noting that each one left behind lasting marks that forever altered public perception. This new scandal, arriving at a time when the monarchy faces unprecedented scrutiny, could very well be another turning point with long-term consequences. Through it all, questions persisted about Fergie herself. Accounts from those close to her suggested she was overwhelmed, shocked and unprepared for the intense wave of backlash. Others suggested she had feared this moment for years, sensing that the past could eventually resurface. Some insiders insisted the arrest was conducted quietly and respectfully, while others claimed it happened under abrupt and startling circumstances. What remains consistent in every account is the sense of gravity, the undeniable weight of the situation and the looming uncertainty about what comes next. As the days continued to pass, one thing became increasingly clear: this was not a story that would quietly fade. It was a narrative with deep implications, emotional complexity and historical resonance. And the world waited, hungry for every new detail, every shift, every whisper of change. The monarchy, long accustomed to managing public perception with meticulous strategy, now found itself standing on fragile ground, watching as a crisis born from within threatened to reshape its future in ways no one could have predicted. In a world where secrets no longer remain buried, where revelations travel at lightning speed and where the public demands truth over tradition, the royal family faces a challenge unlike any before. This new earthquake has not only shaken the palace walls but also forced a re-evaluation of everything the monarchy represents. The consequences of Edward's revelation will echo for years, influencing debates, decisions and perhaps even the very structure of the institution. The arrest of a former duchess, the exposure of hidden footage and the rupture of royal unity all combine to form a chapter that will be studied, discussed and remembered for generations. And now, as viewers around the world try to grasp the magnitude of this unfolding saga, one question rises above all others. In the wake of such explosive revelations, what future awaits a monarchy shaken from within, and how will these events ultimately reshape the destiny of the royal family?